The planet Sithos Prime was quiet. Too quiet. Sergeant Marcus Wren stood at the edge of a broken cliff, his armored boots covered in red dust. The sun above was weak and far, casting a gray light over the strange alien world. Wind howled through. The canyons, carrying the scent of burnt metal and wild spores. Marcus was not alone. His recon unit for soldiers from Earth's Alliance Chorus stood behind him, scanning the area with drones and thermal scopes. But their eyes kept returning to Marcus. Everyone knew something wasn't right. The mission was simple, routine scouting trip to collect atmospheric data from a supposedly empty zone. But then, a distress signal came through. Weak, broken, and definitely not human. At first, Command told them to ignore it. "It's not our business," said the captain. No known colonies out there could be a trap, but Marcus felt something, a pull. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was just the sound of a scared voice hidden in the static. Either way, he made the call. "We're going in," he said. And they did. The signal led them to a crash site. A small alien transport ship had slammed into the side of a ridge. Its hull was torn, still smoking, and the trees nearby were bent, backward from the impact. Pieces of shining metal and glowing crystals were scattered everywhere. The ship looked elegant, not like human ships made of steel and wires. This one had curves and shapes that moved slightly, as if alive. Purple-blue energy still pulsed through the wreckage. "Looks Siren," muttered Corporal Juno, one of Marcus's squad mates. Marcus nodded. The Siren were alien, very alien. Tall, graceful beings, with skin like soft crystal and voices that sang in harmonies. They rarely left their own space, and when they did, they never asked humans for help. That made the distress call even stranger. "Heat signatures," Marcus asked. Private Lane checked his scanner. 1. Faint, deep inside. Marcus didn't hesitate. He drew his pulse rifle, gave a hand signal, and moved toward the ship. The entrance was cracked open. Inside, the smell of burning energy filled the air. Sparks jumped from walls. Organic-looking tubes pulsed with dim light. It looked more like a coral reef than a spaceship. Marcus moved carefully through the wreck. Then he heard it, a soft cry, high-pitched, frightened, coming from the back. He followed the sound. Past a wall of smoke, around a corner, and then he saw her. She was small, maybe half his height. Her body was glowing slightly, her skin a soft shade of lavender. She had a tiny crown-like circlet on her head and long silver hair that floated as if underwater. Her large violet eyes were filled with tears. She sat inside a protective pod, half open and sparking. Her hands were over her ears. The air around her shimmered with fear. She was a child, and a sire in. Marcus slowly put down his weapon and stepped. Closer, he raised both hands, showing he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here to help." She flinched at his voice but didn't run. Instead, she looked at him with confusion. Then, as if sensing something in him, her fear calmed just a little. He carefully reached into the pod and lifted her into his arms. Her body was light, almost weightless. She shivered but didn't resist. "We need to go," he whispered. Outside, the others stared in shock. "Is that a—" Juno began. "A kid," Marcus said. "An alien kid. She's alive." Lane looked worried. "Command's gonna lose it." "We're not supposed to interfere with siren matters." Marcus ignored him. She was alone. The crew's dead. Not leaving her. He opened a compartment in his armor and emergency med sled and placed the girl inside. It closed gently, protecting her from the rough terrain. She blinked once, then fell asleep. The team started moving fast, but Sithos Prime was not safe. As they made their way back to the dropship, something moved in the trees. Creatures of the jungle, long insect-like things with acid-dripping jaws, emerged. From the mist, they were drawn by the energy of the crash, and by the smell of the child. Marcus and his team fought hard. Their rifles hissed with blue fire. Explosions lit the fog. But Marcus's focus stayed on the sled, on the child. He protected her with everything he had. They made it back. Barely the dropship lifted off, its engines roaring as the jungle closed. Inside, Marcus sat against the wall, breathing hard. The child slept beside him, safe in the sled. Command wasn't happy. As expected. "What were you thinking, Sergeant?" barked the general on the screen. "That girl is part of the Siren royal family. You interfered with an alien monarchy." Marcus stared back. "She would have died. You disobeyed protocol. You brought a political time bomb onto our base. I brought a child who needed help." There was silence. Then the general sighed. "Fine. She stays under observation."
Oh.
"You're confined to quarters until further notice." The call ended. Marcus didn't care. He looked at the sled. The girl opened her eyes and looked at him. She reached out a tiny hand and touched his glove. In that moment, Marquez didn't see her as alien. He saw her as someone who needed a friend. Days passed. The child, whose name was Tira, was kept in a secure glass room. Scientists and translators tried to talk to her, but she only stared in silence until Marcus visited. When he came, she lit up. She placed her small hand on the glass. He did the same. And then something strange happened. A soft voice echoed in his head. "Thank you." It was her, not speaking, but sending thoughts, feelings, a connection. Marcus felt her gratitude, her sadness, her fear, something else, a deep loneliness. He realized she was scared not just because of the crash. She had been running from something dangerous maybe. Someone had tried to kill her. Then news came. A ship was approaching. Siren origin, a royal ship. The queen herself was coming. Everyone on the base was tense. Diplomats were called in. Soldiers stood in perfect lines. And Marcus, he waited in silence. The royal ship arrived without sound. It hovered above the base like a glowing crystal. A bridge of light extended to the ground. Then she appeared, tall, beautiful, glowing with power. The Siren Queen. She moved past the generals, past the guards, and straight to the glass room. Tyria ran to the door. The queen placed a hand on it, then looked at Marcus. Their eyes met. In that moment, Marcus knew this was not over. The queen had come not just for her daughter, but for him. The Siren Queen stood tall in the center of the base's landing platform. Her gown shimmered like liquid stars and her hair flowed without wind. She looked nothing like any human. Her skin was crystal pale and glowing faintly blue. Her eyes were large and deep, as if they held galaxies inside. Everyone at the base was silent. Soldiers stood in rows. Scientists kept their distance. Command officers waited nervously. No one knew what the queen would do then, without speaking. She walked straight toward the observation room, the glass room, where Tyria was kept. Inside, the little alien girl ran to the glass and placed both hands on it. She looked scared at first. Then hopeful. Marcus stood nearby, watching everything. The queen stopped in front of the glass. She slowly raised her hand and placed it against the surface, matching her daughter's hands. A soft blue light appeared where they touched, glowing. Softly, the glass faded, melted away like mist. Tyria stepped forward and hugged the queen tightly. For a long moment, they stayed like that. Then the queen turned her head toward Marcus. She studied him. Not with anger, not with pride, but with deep curiosity. Her voice, when it finally came, was soft and musical. "You are the human soldier who saved my daughter," she said. Marcus stood tall. "Yes, Your Majesty. You risked your life. For a child that is not your own, a species not your own." Marcus nodded. She needed help. That was enough. The queen was quiet. Then she walked up to him. Tyria followed closely, holding her mother's hand. The queen looked into his eyes. "What is your name, human?" "Sergeant Marcus Wren." She looked at Tyria. "He is the one you bonded with." Tyria gave a slow, sure nod. And then, to everyone's surprise, the queen bowed her head slightly. "Then I owe you a debt, Marcus Wren. One that my kind does not offer lightly." That evening, the base turned into something strange. Military post, half a diplomatic hall. The queen stayed in a guest chamber made of light and silence. Her personal guards floated instead of walked. Her ship hovered above the base like a second. Marcus was called to a meeting with the highest officials on base. "You've put us in a very unusual situation," General Harkin said, frowning. Marcus stayed quiet. "The Siren Queen doesn't visit other species. She never leaves her territory. And now she's here. And she's asking for you." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What for?" "That's what we want to know." Another officer leaned forward. "Whatever you did out there, it worked. We've been trying to get the Siren to talk, peace, trade, anything, for years. Now she's opening up. You started something big, Ren. Don't mess it up." The next day, Marcus was invited into the Queen's private chamber. It was like walking into a dream. The walls were soft light. The floor felt like air but supported his steps. There was no furniture, only glowing orbs and floating symbols that moved around gently. The Queen stood in the center. Wearing a long flowing robe that shimmered in patterns, Tyria was sitting nearby, smiling when she saw Marcus. "Thank you for coming," the Queen said. Marcus gave a short bow. "You're welcome. I have spoken with your leaders. They're cautious, curious, but you are not like them." "I'm just a soldier," Marcus said. "No," the Queen replied. "You are something more. Tyria tells me you held her hand during the storm, that you spoke gently, though she could not understand you. She trusted you." Marcus looked at Tyria. She smiled again and held out a glowing crystal, the same one from her escape pod. She said, "You returned this to her," the Queen added. "It is part of our royal bloodline, sacred object." "I didn't know. I just saw it was important to her. That is why you were different." The Queen walked closer and stood beside him. "Our people have always kept their distance from others. We see most species as loud, greedy, hungry for war. But then, a human risks everything to save a single child, not for gain, not for power. Just because it was right." Marcus shrugged. "That's what we do." "No," the Queen said firmly. "That is what you did." She paused, then asked, "Would you come with us?" Marcus blinked. "What do you mean?" "To Siren space? As a guest? As a guardian?" Marcus looked surprised. "Guardian, in our tradition. If someone saves royal blood, they are offered the role of lifeguard, a special protector, chosen by the child. Tyria has chosen you." Marcus looked at the girl again. She nodded. "You would be treated with honor," the Queen continued. "You would learn our ways. You would be the first human to walk among the crystal spires, to breathe the wind song. Air and Des. You would stand by Tyria's side as she grows into her role." Marcus hesitated. "I'm just a soldier," he repeated. "I don't know anything about royal courts or alien customs." The Queen smiled. "Then learn. You've already done the hardest part. You listened. You cared. That is more than most kings do." That night, Marcus sat alone in his quarters. He looked at the stars outside his window. Somewhere out there, beyond the dark, was the Siren homeworld. He thought about Tyria, about how she held his glove with tiny fingers, how she had trusted him without knowing his name, and he thought about what kind of man he wanted to be. The next morning, he gave his answer. "I'll go." When he stepped aboard the Queen's ship, the lights changed around him, adjusting to his presence. The ship hummed like a song. Siren guards gave respectful nods. Tyria greeted him with a soft glow around her hair and a small bow. She handed him a crystal bracelet, the same color as her eyes. The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is the first step, Marcus Wren. You are no longer just of Earth." Marcus nodded. "I understand." As the ship rose into the sky, Earth grew smaller in the window. He didn't know what waited for him on the other side of space, but he knew one thing for sure. He'd saved a child, and now that child was leading him into a new world. The Siren Royal ship glided through space like a dream made of light. It made no sound, no shake, and no burn of engines. Just a smooth, peaceful movement as stars passed by its shining hull. Inside, everything felt alive, the walls gently, pulsed like a heartbeat, and the air smelled like sweet rain. Marcus Wren stood near a wide window, looking at the stars. He had never seen space like this before. The ship's glass let him see colors invisible to human eyes. Blues that felt cold in his bones. Reds that warmed his chest. Even music soft and slows to come from the stars themselves. Tyria, the young siren princess he had rescued, stood beside him. Her eyes reflected every passing light. "Are you afraid?" she asked softly, using her mind instead of her voice. Marcus shook his head. "No, just amazed." The ship moved closer to a distant planet. It glowed like a pearl floating in a sea of black. Long golden rings circled it, and green clouds moved across its surface like rivers of gas. "That's your home?" Marcus asked. Tyria nodded. Siren Kai, the heart world. When they entered the atmosphere, Marcus felt nothing. No rumble, no speed. But outside, everything changed. The sky turned violet. Floating islands drifted lazily in the clouds. Great towers of crystal stretched from land to sky, glowing from within. The capital city was called Tyria, the city of singing light. Buildings here weren't made from metal or stone. They were grown, shaped by the planet's will. And the queen's songs, bridges hung between towers like spider silk. Giant flowers bloomed between walkways. People moved with grace, floating at times, gliding at others. Marcus felt like he had stepped into a painting. Siren citizens paused to look at him, not with hate or fear, but with curiosity. No human had ever walked their streets before. He was. Taken to the Palace of Harmonic Light. It stood at the center of the city, a massive spire that hummed with music. As Marcus walked through its halls, could hear notes vibrating in the air, music not made by instruments, but by the structure itself. The queen met him in a great chamber filled with floating lights. "Welcome, Lifeguard Marcus Wren," she said. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he replied, bowing slightly. "You will stay here. We'll learn our ways, our laws, and our songs. And most of all, you will stand beside my daughter as her protector. This is not a duty of war, but of peace, growth, and truth." Marcus nodded. "I'll do my best." Tyria smiled. The next few weeks were not easy. Marcus began training with the Crystal Guard, elite warriors who protected the royal family, but their ways were very different from human soldiers. They didn't fight with guns. They used energy spears, mental focus, and silent movement. One trainer, named Veltan, was especially hard on Marcus. "You fight like a hammer," Veltan said. "We need a blade." Marcus grunted through another round of sparring. "Learn. You saved the princess with strength. But here, you must also learn grace." So Marcus trained every day, every night. He learned how to feel energy with his hands, how to block thoughts from entering his mind, how to balance on floating stones while keeping his mind calm. He fell often. He got bruises. He failed tests, but he never gave up. Tyria sometimes watched him from a distance. When he succeeded, she clapped. When he failed, she sent him warm thoughts that made the pain easier to bear. One night, while walking in the palace gardens, Marcus found the queen sitting alone near a glowing pool. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She looked up. "This is when I hear the world best." He sat beside her. Fireflies made of light danced above the water. "Your people are beautiful," Marcus said. "This place, it's like nothing I ever imagined." And yet the queen replied, "It is still." "In danger?" Marcus turned toward her. "Danger." The queen sighed. Tyria's ship was not lost by accident. Attacked her. Someone from our own kind. Marcus frowned. "You think it was an assassination?" "Yes. Tyria was targeted. But we don't yet know who. That's why I needed someone not of our people. Someone outside the politics. Someone I could trust." Marcus clenched his fists. "I'll protect her." The queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know. That is why I chose you. The next day, something strange happened. A member of the royal court, Lord Salver, requested to meet Marcus. He was tall, sharp-eyed, and always dressed in dark robes. They met in a high tower with clear walls. Salver smiled politely, but didn't bow. "So, the human soldier," he said. "A rare guest." Marcus kept his face calm. "I'm just doing my job," "I'm sure," Salver replied. "But some here wonder, why would the Queen trust a creature of war?" Marcus didn't reply. "You must understand," Salver continued. "The siren value peace. Our children are taught harmony, not conflict. And yet, here you are. A man who fires weapons and breaks rules." Marcus stepped forward. "Tyria would be dead if I didn't break the rules." Salver's smile faded. "Perhaps." Then he left. Something about him felt wrong. Later that night, Tyria woke Marcus with a mental whisper. "Someone is in the tower." He jumped up and grabbed the energy blade given to him by the Queen. Silent as possible, he moved through the halls. Following Tyria's signal, he found the intruder near her chambers, hooded, cloaked in shadows. Marcus raised his blade. "Stop right there." The figure ran, chasing the intruder through floating bridges and narrow walkways. Marcus moved fast. He leaped between crystal platforms, dodged energy traps, and finally cornered the figure near the edge of the palace walls. The figure turned. To fight, their blade clashed with his. The attacker moved fast for a normal siren. They fought under moonlight, blades glowing with every strike. Marcus blocked a powerful attack and knocked the hood off. It was one of the Queen's own guards, the attacker hissed. "You do not belong here, human." Marcus forced him to the ground. Before he could ask questions, the attacker bit something in his mouth and vanished in a flash of light. Dead. When Marcus returned, the Queen was waiting. "He was one of mine," she said, "corrupted, paid by someone high in court." "Salver," Marcus guessed. "We don't know yet. But the attack confirms our fears." Tyria clung to Marcus's side. Her glow flickered with worry. The Queen placed her hand on his heart. "You protected her again. You have done more than we hoped." "I won't stop," Marcus said. "Not until we know who's behind this." The Queen smiled softly. "Right then. Perhaps you were not just a soldier. You were meant to be something more." As dawn broke, Marcus stood at the highest tower of the palace. The city below shimmered like a dream. He had come here just to help a lost child. Now he stood between worlds, protecting a future queen. And someone wanted that future destroyed. But Marcus Wren was not afraid. He had faced death before. He had faced war. Now he would face lies and shadows, and he would not fail. Marcus Wren was no longer just a soldier. He was now lifeguard of the Siren Princess, living inside a palace of light and music.
Stone Age.
Training with warriors who floated instead of walked, and learning lessons from minds more ancient than any human could imagine. But in his heart, he was still a soldier, watchful, alert, and ready for war, because war was coming, not with guns or ships, but with secrets, lies, and betrayal. Since the attack in the tower, the Queen had become more guarded. She still held council meetings, still showed her calm face to the people, but Marcus noticed how often her eyes scanned the room, searching for threats. The palace doubled its guards. Marcus was assigned to Assistant Stall, Silent Siren. Warriors named Keller and Zine wore glowing masks and never spoke unless needed, but Marcus kept close to Tyria at all times. She was still a child, gentle, curious, and full of wonder, but even she knew now that someone wanted her gone. "I don't understand," she whispered to Marcus one morning as they walked in the Sky Garden. "Why would anyone want to hurt?" "Me." Marcus crouched beside her. "Because you're special. Because you matter. And people who want power are afraid of others who give people hope." Tyria touched the crystal she wore around her neck. "Mother says this holds the soul light of our family. If it breaks, I fade." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then it won't break. Not while I'm alive." That same day, a royal announcement shook the palace. The queen declared that in 3 days' time, she would host the ceremony of bonding, an ancient tradition where a royal child presents her chosen protector to the high circle of elders. It had not been done for 1,000 years. Now it would be done. For a human, many nobles didn't like it, especially Lord Salver, whose face stayed calm, but whose eyes showed something darker. "This is dangerous," he told the queen in open council. "Giving such honor to an outsider may stir unrest." "Unrest is already here," the queen replied, voice cool and clear, "but at least now we name it." Salver smiled, but it was not warm. "Then may the ceremony bring light, but not more shadows." Marcus met with the queen that evening. "I don't trust him," Marcus said. "Nor do I," the queen replied. "But proof is what matters, and we have none." Marcus looked out over the city from her balcony. "Then we need to find it." Dada. Queen turned to him. "There is one place we have not looked. The Echo Vault deep beneath the palace stores all past visions, records, and memories of our royal bloodline. But it is guarded by old laws. Only a bonded protector may enter. With the heir?" Then, after the ceremony, Marcus said, "We go there." She nodded slowly. "Yes, and may the truth be waiting." The palace passed quickly, the palace filled with guests from every Siren province. Floating ships arrived like glowing whales. In the sky, nobles in robes of light and noble guards with weapons of song walked the crystal halls. Marcus wore ceremonial armor, a sleek silver chest piece marked with Tyria's name in the Siren language. A long blue cape hung from his shoulders. His blade rested at his hip. Tyria wore a flowing dress of starlight. Her crown was made from her mother's own crystal, shaped into the crest of the royal line. When she stepped into the center of the Hall of Rings, all sound faded. Thousands of Siren watched in silence. She raised her voice not with her mouth, but with her thoughts. "I have chosen. He saved me when I was alone. He stood between me and death. He held my hand in the dark. I name Marcus Wren as my lifeguard." Marcus stepped forward. The queen raised a hand. A beam of soft blue light shone down on him. And then the High Elders 5, ancient figures with glowing white robes, spoke in one voice. "We accept." Cheers echoed. The lights in the ceiling danced. Music rang out from every wall and tower. The Siren had accepted him. He was now part of them. But one figure, Salver, quietly slipped away during the celebration. Later that night, when the palace slept and the moon was high, Marcus met Tyria at the entrance of the Echo Vault. It was deep underground, hidden. Behind a wall that opened only for royal blood, Tyria touched her crystal to the door. It slid open, with a whisper inside. The vault glowed with old magic. Floating crystals hummed softly. Echoes of the past played like shadows, images of past queens' battles, and peace treaties drifting through the air. "We're looking for anything about recent meetings," Marcus said. "Anything about Salver?" Tyria guided him through the memory halls. They passed one chamber, where a young queen sang to the stars. Another, where a prince chose peace over war. And another where a child was born, Tyria herself, glowing like a baby star. Finally, they reached a sealed crystal. It pulsed when they touched it. An image appeared. The queen, a secret meeting, and standing across from her was Salver. "Do not speak of this again," the queen was saying. "You do not control the line of heirs," Salver's voice replied, cold and sharp. "Then I will take the line from you." The crystal cracked. Marcus and Tyria stared in. Shocked, they had their proof. Suddenly, alarms rang above. Red light flashed through the vault. Tyria's eyes widened. Something's wrong. Marcus grabbed her hand and ran. They raced through the crystal halls, past ancient memories and forgotten songs. When they reached the upper levels, the palace was under attack. Not by soldiers, but by machines. Drones, black, spider-like, with blades for legs, crawled through the windows. Some guests screamed and fled. Others were frozen with fear, and at the center of it all, floating on a dark platform, was Salver, wearing armor black as night. "This kingdom has grown weak," he shouted to the crowd. "Led by dreamers, protected by outsiders, but no more. The royal line ends tonight. He raised a hand. A wave of force knocked several guards off their feet. Marcus stepped between Silver and Tyria. You'll have to go through me. I plan to, Silver hissed. The duel began. Marcus had trained hard, but Silver was powerful. They fought across the main hall, sword clashing against energy. Light meeting darkness. Sparks flew. Guests ran. The queen shouted orders. The royal guards engaged the drones. Cell vir. Struck with rage and fire, Marcus fought with calm and purpose. Each time Silver tried to reach Tyria, Marcus blocked him. Each time Marcus fell, he got up again. Finally, Silver tried to blast the girl with a dark beam, but Tyria, small and shining, stepped forward and raised her crystal. The beam shattered. Silver screamed, "Impossible!" Marcus took the chance. He lunged and drove his blade into Silver's chest. The dark armor cracked. Sael-vir fell. The battle ended. Later, the queen stood before the siren people. Betrayal was close, she said, but love stood closer. She turned to Marcus. He is no longer just lifeguard. He is guardian of the crown, and he has proven, not just with blade, but with heart, that he is one of us. The crowd cheered. Tyria stepped forward and placed her crown in Marcus's hands. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. He had already spoken with courage, with action, with honor. The dark clouds that had hovered over the Crystal Kingdom were finally gone. After Lord Silver's betrayal and defeat, peace returned to the skies of Sirenkai. The people, once uncertain of the human in their court, now greeted Marcus Wren with smiles and songs. Even the palace walls, which once hummed with worry, now sang soft melodies of hope. But Marcus didn't care about fame. His thoughts remained focused on one thing: keeping Princess Tyria safe, and soon. He would need to make a choice that would change everything in the royal garden. Flowers glowed in the moonlight, and the wind carried music as if the planet itself was whispering thanks. Marcus sat on a stone bench, sharpening the blade the queen had given him. It no longer looked like a weapon. It looked like part of him. Tyr joined him quietly. "Why are you always fixing that?" she asked, sitting with her legs crossed. He smiled. "A soldier's tool is never perfect. It always needs care. It's like peace." She tilted her head. "Will you leave after this?" Marcus paused. It was a question he'd been asking himself too. He had completed his mission. He had protected the princess. He had defeated the threat. But now that the war was over, where did he belong? "I don't know yet," he answered. Tyria looked at him with glowing eyes, then stay. The next morning, the queen called Marcus to her private chamber. She stood beside a tall, glowing tree, its leaves made of soft crystal. Her expression was calm but serious. "You have done more than any soldier ever could," she said. "I only did what was right," Marcus replied. "And sometimes," she said, "doing what's right is the hardest path." She waved her hand, and a small table rose from the ground. Upon it rested a box, carved from starlight wood. "This," she said, "is the reward we offer you." Marcus opened the box. Inside was a small crystal sphere, no larger than a human heart. It pulsed with light. "What is it?" he asked. "It is a siren core," she explained. "A living piece of our world. With it, you can choose one of 3 gifts." Marcus listened carefully. "First," she said, "you may choose to return home to Earth. This sphere will guide you through the stars and reward you with riches beyond imagination. Second," she continued, "you may ask for knowledge, become a guardian of both worlds, carrying our secrets and wisdom into the galaxy. Third, you may stay, become one of us, not just in name but in spirit. The core will change your body, extend your life, and make you something new." Marcus stared at the glowing sphere. 3 paths, 3 futures. He had never asked for a reward. He never expected one. But now everything depended on this choice. He walked through the palace halls, thinking deeply. On Earth, he had no family left, no home, Only a military record and a long list of memories he'd rather forget. He had never wanted to be famous or rich, but knowledge that was tempting. To understand a race as powerful as the Siren, to carry their wisdom across the stars, he could help others, maybe prevent future wars. Still, part of him looked at Tyria's face and the soft way her hand fit in his when she was afraid. He remembered how she had whispered to him in the darkness, trusted him more than anyone, and part of him wanted to stay, not as a soldier, but as something more. Later that evening, Marcus stood before the queen and her court. Tyria stood beside him, her crown glowing. The core hovered between them, shining brighter than before. "I have made my choice," Marcus said, his voice calm but firm. The hall fell silent. "I don't need gold. I don't want power. I don't care for medals or praise. I came to save a life, and I found something greater." He looked at Tyria. "I want to stay. I want to protect this world. I want to be part of it, not just as a guest, but truly one. Of you." The queen nodded once. Her eyes were wet with tears, though she didn't show them. "The core will now begin the change," she said. The ritual began at sunrise. Marcus stood in a shallow pool surrounded by siren priests and glowing stones. The core floated above his chest. Its light passed through his skin, his bones, his very mind. He felt no pain, only warmth, deep peace. His body changed slowly. His skin began to glow faintly, like the siren. His heart beat stronger. His senses sharpened. He could hear the whispers of the wind, could feel the energy in the air. Even his thoughts felt clearer. He was still human. Something more, something in between, a bridge between two worlds. Days passed. Marcus no longer wore the armor of Earth. He wore siren robes marked with the royal crest. He no longer trained as a soldier, but as a peacekeeper, a guardian. He studied music, meditation, and the siren way of life. His mind opened to new forms of learning. Tyria followed him everywhere. "Will you be here when I become queen?" she asked one night as they watched the stars. "I will," he promised. "Even when I'm old," he chuckled. "I'll still be here, maybe with gray hair and slower steps. But I'll be watching." She leaned against him. "Then I won't be afraid." Months turned into years. Marcus became a symbol of peace, not just to the siren, but to other worlds. As more alien races contacted the queen's court, they met Marcus too. He was the first human ambassador to the siren. A warrior who chose peace over power. He helped rewrite laws, bridge ancient rivalries, and protect the innocent across the stars. But most of all, he stayed by Tyria's side, and when the day came when the queen finally passed the crown to her, daughter Tyria stood tall, proud, and strong. She turned to the crowd and said, "I was once lost, a child in the dark, and a man came not for reward, not for glory, but because it was right, and because of him, I am here today." She turned to Marcus, now older, wiser, and still glowing with gentle light. "And he will always be my guardian." The people cheered. The city lights flashed with joy. Across the galaxy, stories were told of the human who became more than a soldier, who became a symbol. Some said he lived for centuries. Others believed he had become a spirit of the stars. But those who knew him, the queen, the court, the children, he protected. They remembered his smile, his calm strength, and his heart. He never called himself a hero, but he was one. Because in a world of silence, he became the shield, and in a moment of danger, he became the light.